We back, we back, we back. All right, back to begin. All right, so basically, run down a few things. You know, everybody know the song "Money, Power, Respect." You got Scarface, "Money, Power, and Respect." The world is yours, and everything in it. You know, more like a reference to the Bad Boys Coalition with the Junior Mafia and Biggie Smalls type. You know, mafioso gangster. But what I'm coming from right now, what's going on, Tamika in the building? What I'm coming from right now is, more or less about life, money, power, respect. That's the key to a great business, you know, co-op deal, relationship, as people say, because boss lady in the building. Because most people tend to say that, relationships are like business. And in the corporation, two entities join together to make one, the co-op in a business deal or transactions to, benefit each other's company. And it's the same way in marriage. Technically, you got one man over here and a woman over there. Preference, anybody want to get married, that's their preference. You know, that's your business. Your business is your business. But at the same time, for basic, it's just mostly man and women. You know, but if you pick your significant other, that's you. When it comes down to it, you running your household the way you and your significant other do. You're starting off easily working together. Over time, there's some bumps in the road. There's been situations where companies have parted ways or kind of broken down the corporation due to issues, and that's the same thing when it goes into marriage. But needless to say, this is not all about relationships and marriage. More or less focusing on yourself. How much money do you need to retire with? How much power would you be influenced over things in your life that you can have control over? And how much respect do you give those who can also respect you and have a good life? Shout out to the people in the building. Go ahead and hit that like button if you sub. Appreciate you. But when it comes down to it, the main thing, always going into the money. All right, so one quick, the 4% rule. A lot of people looking at retiring when they get older. What is that number for you to retire with? Like the amount of money. Pretty much insiders and analysts say that you need about 4% of the money you make yearly. I mean, the money you spend yearly, not the money you make, but the money you spend yearly. Because when it comes down to it, you got all your utilities like water, gas, internet, cable, whatever, mortgage, car insurance, car notes. Most people are gonna have car notes into their older years. You got to be able to afford that, And at that time, that's when most people typically want to buy those nicer cars to go into their elder years to, show the amount of things you've done, and this is the process in which I've lived this long. I've, sacrificed, worked all these years. I want this nice car. I've been wanting me a nice car for years. And then so you go into the account of all the other things like eating out, taking vacations. You know, let's just hit it for about like around 70 some $1,000. At 4%, and then that's going into about at least 30 years. You're gonna need at at minimum $1.4 million. $1.4 million for a person spending about $75,000, let's say 80,000, like close to 80,000. And what's going on, Rael? And a lot of people aren't really doing the math. I mean, because looking at how much money you get from Social Security. Back in the day, Social Security was mainly started on the premise of, war times and, the inflation on things, and they want to up. So when you did the numbers, due to Social Security being 2%, you kind of balance things and help things out with the economy. You know, now Social Security, from what I heard, they said it's about 27%, but I'll have to really look and do the numbers. But you know, when it comes down to it, you're paying so much into Social Security, but are you really getting a lot of that back? Or if you get back the money that they take from Social Security, is it going to be enough? You know, the height of inflation, it held people at a standpoint to where they're just struggling and trying to get by. I know a guy right now. Yep, another dead dolphin. I know a guy right now. He literally makes about between him and his wife, probably about 4,500 a month. 4,500 a month is good enough for paying the household. A little bit on the car and insurance and stuff, but it's pinching as far as him eating, and surviving for the most part. Can't really take trips like that. You have to save a 50 or 100 here every month to take a nice trip. So when it comes down to it, all that stuff got to be budgeted. All of it got to be to a degree to where, hey, this is points of I'm saving. This is the amount of money I need for retirement. Investing, the money part. Investing in yourself, investing in things that can give you a return. You know, a lot of people, I'm talking to a lot of young kids now, everybody wants to go into real estate. And I was looking at a podcast where the lady was saying basically, we have been groomed to look at more or less tangible things that we can see and touch. And, that's my car. Look at the rim. Look at, the doors. Look at the Mercedes sign. But then you have a point to where you really need to understand that buying stock is just coming from the same similarity. But, the untangible, because I can't grab that stock, I could just say I have it. It's not something I can show off to friends until the work comes in with the process when I make such a big profit off of it and then go buy that car. Other than that, it's just something that people can't really see. You know, a lot of times business, sometimes you don't even have to run a business. You can become a silent partner, investor in a business, and you just sit back and get a percentage every month. A lot of people are not willing to do that. These are the types of things that you got to think about when you get old, like passive income. It's good now, working hard, grinding, hitting it. But like me and my wife was having a discussion. Do you really want to work till you die? Because even to the point of most people, you know, who are actually living longer, they can't afford to retire. I literally know older people now that's still working Walmart, doing some little odd and end job because of inflation. You know, you got to account for inflation. How many people really account for inflation over the years to say, well, I saved this much money, Social Security is giving me this much, and then to a degree, it's crazy because what's going on, Queena? Even with Social Security, one of my friends, he actually had to take less money from Social Security due to the fact of him being married. The guy was supposed to get about, I think it was about 45 or $5,000 a month. But due to him being married, he was only able to get natural life. What's going on with you? What's going on? Morning, morning to you, all the way from Jamaica. Morning, morning. But he was getting about close to $5,000. But due to him being married, and his wife was already retired because she had disability issues, and she only made about 1,200 a month. They said that they wanted to cut her money down, and so that'll be it. I got to get you this wrench. Uh, Let me see if I can go back on YouTube and see if I can pull it up again. That's why I should have went on the YouTube so I can actually do it next time. I'm gonna be pulling up on YouTube. But nice to see you in the building. When it comes down to it, why does he have to get less money due to the fact of him, being married? It's just astonishing, crazy to me. Then I have one older couple that I know. The wife, she worked for the courthouse. She worked for the state. She makes about $7,000 a month. Her husband, he worked for the car company for 30 years up in Detroit. He makes about 5,500 a month. You look at different states. She retired in Texas making that. He retired in Detroit. The guy that I know, he was working out of Jersey, but retired down here in Georgia. Now, yeah, also adding his pension. I think due to inflation, it ate him up. He was getting about $800 a month in a in a pension plan. So you look at stuff like that, it's literally crazy how you feel as if you're gonna make a whole bunch of money, you're gonna be set, you're gonna have some things done, you're gonna be either have your house paid off, your car paid off by retirement, and sometimes this stuff just doesn't happen. So when it don't happen like that, what is your next move? You know, how are you going to be able to go forth and still make money? You're going to have to go back to work. Um, you're going to try to sell your house and, you know, go move in with a family member. Nowadays, these young kids, they live in this whole YOLO life to where they don't want to have the elders stay with them. They don't want to be in a position to where they can, you know, have their mother, father, whomever stay with them because they want to entertain friends, family, and it's just the whole thing about having the elders around. It's like the respect is gone. You know, my wife's mother stays with her older daughter. She was staying with the youngest daughter, but the youngest daughter moved out of state, so she stayed with the oldest daughter. That family bond is there. Now, let's go maybe 30 years from now, 40 years from now, and my wife's mother, wanting to stay with us. Is that a thing that I would want to do? You know, and is that a thing my wife wanted to do? Is that a thing her brothers wants to do? You know, to a point back in the day, it was more or less, even if you didn't want to do it, it was going down on more or less the respect of watching the elders. Nowadays, a lot of these kids are not doing it. If excuse me, I told my wife, I said, if it gets to a situation when we get older, I'm actually thinking about having like insurance to benefit me for that. So I technically won't have to depend on the kids to watch us. You know, we both have nurses come in and take care of us, and everything will be fine. Just live out our days, hopefully with the same mind, and everything will be okay. And getting into it, You know, back into the respect part. That was the money and now the respect. A lot of times, respect take people a long way. You know, just going into that instance of, living with the elders and stuff. The way you treat people, typically, most people don't forget. Same thing in relationships, same thing in business. The way you treat people, they typically don't forget because when it comes down to it, there are some key things that the elders always say, you'll need me before I need you. It comes to a point of being dependent on to where if I need help, who's going to be there to help? If there are some situations at hand that I'm gonna need to take care of, how is that gonna be influential to me when I'm not doing things properly and structurally? It's gonna be bad on me. So more or less, watch how you treat people because in the end, you might need them for something, and they have a different attitude or a different tone to what's going on in life. Young Riaz, what's going on? Drip. When it comes down to it, just saying the least, a lot of times when it comes to the money aspect of life, we need to start doing more research. That's why I say I try to talk more towards that, you know, and the family aspect because when it comes down to it, we literally have so many situations in which we're losing in due to the fact that not a lack of understanding. You know, money plays a big part of our lives, but we don't understand it. We don't know how to spend it the right way. We don't know how to use it for certain things that can gain us more in life. You can use money to make money. You know, you can advance more off of things, but the point of reference is you got to be in the business of studying. You got to be in the business of overall listening. Samantha, what's going on? You got to actually be in the business of just knowing what you're doing. A lot of people typically, when it comes down to it, they spend money so wildly and just not having a focus, not having a situation to where, you know, you're investing in something for a long time. Prime example, like a car. I have an old pickup truck. I bought a package deal. I think I spent about, I think, anywhere from 2,500 or so for it. Lisa J. Stock, what's going on? And oh yeah, I seen you in prayers yesterday. Y'all were kind of late. I looked around at 3 o'clock, and I jumped back in, and I was in there for a little bit, but I was working and I was making a lot of noise, and I couldn't even hear. So I just said I'm gonna go back and look at the rest of it. But for the most part, I had this old pickup truck. Bought this truck and a trailer. Still got it to this day. You know, steady putting money in it little by little. When it comes down to it, the bigger picture with me is actually, having this truck to make me money. This is a vehicle that gets me money. A lot of times, people will buy something for the look, but what is the purpose? You know, shout out to Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Bible. You know, he was saying that, when he bought his Benz, it's a eye catcher for one, and it's a conversation piece. You know, the car represents a status. So by him selling life insurance, his status by using that car, kind of lures people in to like, well, you got a nice car. That means you must make good money and this and that and going from there. But having the understanding that he knowing that this car is a tool, using it to his advantage. And, shout out to him for talking about that. Even on the other hand, with Big Discussion 76, Dr. Dunbar. We had the discussion on his channel, um, and we were having a discussion about the cars. It's not what they say, the man makes the car, the car don't make the man. So in that situation, you're using the car as a representation for something. You're using the car to enhance, you know, the conversation about what needs to be talked about. So in the end, literally, the car is just a representation of a status, and you use it to its advantage. Same thing like I said about my pickup truck. And then having to understand that this is a 98 pickup truck, regular cab. It's not a big truck. Well, it technically is a big truck because it's a 4x4, 1500 Dodge. But at the same time, it's more of a workhorse. I mean, I can show you all the dents, all the dings, everything on the car, bumps from when I bought it, things that I did to it, bent the front, not the frame, but bent the fenders on certain things. And just in general, that truck has literally been through it. But at the same time, it was bought to be used as a work truck and working and doing things it is. You know, having an understanding that I bought this truck with the purpose of making money off this truck. So when I do the numbers, I've actually, you know, um, to a degree, made probably 50 or 60 times as much as I bought the truck for, actually doing the work. So, you know, the truck was a win-win. I learned that back when I was a young man, that the elder and the older people always would tell me, trucks always make money. So that was something that I gathered to the point of, if I get a pickup truck, all I'm gonna do is make money. So it got to a point to where I literally always wanted a pickup truck. At one point, I had three trucks, and it was to the point that I had one nice truck to drive and two of my other trucks that I used for work. But like I said, still within the mission, the trucks were used for a purpose, to make me more money from the money I spent on it, And that's the thing with a lot of us. We got to actually start finding things to make us more money. Because heading to, like I said earlier about retirement, if you don't have a certain amount of money in the bank or invested, when it comes down to it, I mean, how are you going to actually live? Even with people that have 401k, right before you get ready to retire, they're going to come back and take that money because it's tax deferred. So Uncle Sam is going to get his. Then going into a factor, a lot of people are not understanding that, money just sitting in the savings isn't doing anything. Put it to work. Invest it in something. That's when you get a return. A lot of times, noting that if you have a little money in your bank account, something is better than nothing. But, those are assets that you can use in heat of an emergency. You don't have to cash in a stock. Prime example, one YouTuber was saying that they needed a house, that where they were going to buy a house, and they needed close to $11,000, or the deal was going to go through. And, pretty much the only reason they were doing that, due to the fact that the housing market had went up and agents were going to be losing money with the deals that they already had. If people didn't come to the plate, you had literally banks, they were going to be losing money. The brokers were going to be losing money because the interest rates were going up and people were locked into the old interest rate. Right when that housing market was going crazy, I think it was in 2022, people were spending 6 and 7 and 8% on those houses because it was an influx in the market to where a lot of people were buying houses, and it was good for the seller, bad for the the buyers because they were spending so much money for these houses. But if you had it, you can afford it. And so actually, she ended up needing $11,000 to cut the deal on this nice house that's been on the market for at least a year and a half in the process of being built. And luckily, she was able to come up with that money. Otherwise, she would have, been a bad off. But like I said, it was just convenient that she had a family member that could do that and that can give her that money, you know. But at the same time, in my opinion, 10,000 might be close enough as a good enough emergency fund just to have on at all times. But I would literally mostly take about five of that, invest it in something. But then in her situation, it paid off. I would do at least no more than about five in cash, access at all times. The rest of the money be invested. You know, invest in the stock that gives dividends. Shout out to Lisa J. Invest in ETFs. Invest in something that'll give you a good return around on your investment. A lot of people invest in small like business. There are crowdfunding sites where a lot of people crowdfund, get together, buy up a whole bunch of things. People have bought land crowdfunding. People have bought into companies crowdfunding. And like I said, it's passive income. They sit there, give 15, 10% into a company and get a small return of that investment of the overall profits of the company. You might put in 25,000 and you might make no more than about 200 a month. But over the course of the year, not working, that 200 pays for itself. Then if the company does better, have increases, you still get that 10% off of the monthly growth of that company. So it's still good. A lot of times, people don't see the big picture. I can come to you right now and tell you, give me $10,000 and I'll give you $100 a month profit off of a business. You're not looking at the big picture. What if the business increases? All these companies have started like that. Ring Doorbell was another name before it became Ring Doorbell. It was just I forgot the other name for it, but the guy changed it to Ring. Missed out. He's very big on that process. What's going on to build this table? And a lot of times, a lot of people don't have foresight seeing into the future. Like, if I invest this now, what is my return later? A lot of people want their profits right now. A lot of people are scared to invest of the unknown. A lot of people just like remaining the same. You know, had a conversation with my wife and we were talking about this about, you know, do you just want to keep living your life the same, making the same money, doing the same thing, eating the same, looking the same, feeling the same, you know? And that's the thing that we were talking about. Growth is a part of life. The older you get, the more mature you should get in life. Bruce, what's going on? Man, I haven't been swinging those boxing gloves over that way in a minute. I'm going to have to get over there and check out some of that boxing and jazz. And don't forget the game. What's going on, Bruce? But, you know, when it comes down to it, a lot of people are not saving enough to retire. Like I said, you would need 4% of your yearly income. I mean, the yearly money that you spend on your bills times 30, you know, just to give you a rough number, because there are people living longer now, you know, higher technology, people living, eating better. So, you know, I remember one time I was listening to a documentary about some guys that were in gangs. All their friends were dying. They joined the gang at 15, the so-called baby gangsters. By the time they turned 21 to 25, they OG. You would think in the span of, just 5 or 6 years, how can you be mature enough to be an OG. But it comes down to the point where those gangsters and stuff, gangsters don't live that long. They make songs like that. When it come down to it, the lifestyle that they live, they had to learn things fast. They had to grow up quick. And it got to a point where when they would get in their 30s, the first thing that they say is, man, I never thought I'd live this long. I didn't take life serious. I didn't look at things to do to make my life better. It was always ready to die. Get up with the intent of somebody might kill me, somebody might do this, do that. You know, the whole story of uh, when you in the gang for life. They're older guys. They just timed out the game. You know, you can't be running around robbing and all this crazy stuff when you 60 and 40 years old. You got bad knees. Back hurt. You might run and throw something out. So a lot of times they just time out of the game. But in a sense, like I was saying with that, when you get to that point of retirement, then what? You haven't been saving anything. You haven't been investing. You got to go back to work. You know, you got to find somewhere to stay. You didn't save enough money. Even Social Security is not giving you enough. What are your options? This is why I always try to have the conversation, because when it comes down to it, a lot of times people are not looking at the future until the future comes and meets them. They literally come, the future comes and slap them in the face. And like, man, this this is really happening. Like, this is going on. Like, I'm old. You know, I always my uncle used to sit there. He always claimed that he was this young little spring chicken, as that people say, and he was old. He sat down one day and rubbed his knees and was like, "Man, I'm old. Man, can't believe it." You know, and his whole thing was, this is where I got it from. I don't want to be an older man trying to still get life together. And he would always say, I have to tweak some things to make it better, but other than that, I'm good. And that's the whole motive where a lot of people get misguided on some things, because their intent, it means well for them to do right and have a good life, but overcoming all these things, nobody's telling them about stocks. Nobody's telling them about investment, 401ks, IRAs, investing in bonds. Investing in bonds was the old thing that a lot of people invested in. CDs, where you get a return. CDs were starting to be at the height peak of a payout. I remember when I got a book back in the day. I think I turned 17 or 18. I went to a book fair and I got a book on investing. Picked that book up probably 4 or 5 times and just left it. Sat there as I got older. I went through it, and I seen that back in the 90s, people were paying 10% in interest, 12% in most cases in interest. And they were complaining, but they were doing it. But at the height of the market, buying a house back in the day was at 50, 60,000. A house at 150 and 200 was like, you had money. And then you go back and look at this day and time where, you know, at low, my friend bought a house at 3.5. And he was complaining about the interest rate being, kind of high for him at 3.5 because he had decent credit. And I'm like, dude, that's the lowest it's going to get. You know, every time people go to tell him to refinance his house, he tell them his interest rate. You're like, yeah, have a nice day. Because you can't top it. But getting into, like I said, the money, power, respect, a lot of times, you gotta respect yourself. Respect your money. You gotta understand your position in life with power that you have. You know, technically speaking, you have the power right now to control a lot of stuff in your life. You know, everything from you and investing. Just getting out here. I'm gonna drop a video in my community tab after I jump off of here. Ramit has a channel. I want to teach you to be rich. He has a show he did on Netflix and his YouTube. He has his own website, and he has something called a conscious spending chart, and it breaks down everything that you should know about your spending. Like, most people don't even know a lot of times where they're spending the bulk of their money because you're just swiping that card. Like I said, when I first met my wife, she had her checkbook balance and everything. Every time she spends, she'll write it down. And I'm like, baby, that's the old way. You know, they got it on the app now. You can look at your app. But then that's the easy way to get an overdraft because we done got so lazy to the point where everything is being done for us to where easily get overdraft. Then counting the fact that you have automatic debit now. That's another easy way to get overdraft. Automatic debit typically have people overdraft all the time because you'll forget. I even have to have alarms set on my phone, not just for the particular day. I would do 5 days before just so I can remember that I have an automatic debit coming out so I can go ahead and put money aside for that, save for that. When it comes down to it, a lot of times, man, there are so many people that invest in the things and put their money in the things and don't get a return. Then do the proper studying, then looking into it as well. Just overall, just, hey, took the initial steps to say, hey, I hope this works. If it don't, no harm, no foul. But when it comes down to it, you gotta invest in yourself. You gotta literally do the research, do the homework, sit on yourself. If you're gonna invest in stocks, what's the return if you got excuse if you have a 401k at your job, are they matching? If they not matching, what are they contributing? 5%, 3%, 6%? You know, if you got stock options at your job, what are your options at the job for stocks? You need to know this stuff. Even if your company has COLI insurance on you or they provide you with insurance through your job, if you leave, could you take that insurance with you? Because if you're paying into some insurance, could you take that insurance with you when you leave? Or if they're paying for the insurance, how does that even work? Because that's COLI insurance, corporate owned life insurance, to the point where if you die on the clock, yeah, they'll pay your family out. But then that means they also have an account on you as well to get paid out due to, you dying and, foreseeing things happening. Hey, they're going to get paid. They're going to get some money off of it. I had a coworker worked at a moving company. The guy had two strokes, and the company still let him work because he wanted to work. He got released from the doctor and everything. And, when he went out to another job, he passed right at the customer's house. And it was crazy, but the company ended up benefiting from it because, they ended up getting life insurance on him. And this guy ended up passing like over $1 million some dollars off that policy, you know. And they was quick to, tell the condolence to the family. I don't know if they paid or did anything of it because, I wasn't really that close with that guy. But at the same time, Hey, companies benefit. But needless to say, I'm about to get ready to get off of here. Conversation was, mainly regarding around your retirement, how you going to invest in yourself. Overall, do the research. I can't say this enough every time I come on here. Knowledge is power. Do the research. Go and watch some videos investing in yourself. I understand you want to laugh. I understand you want to joke, the gossip, get the latest tea or what's going on, but invest in yourself. Try to sit here and look at some videos, not every day, just every so often, about investing in stocks, about investing in things that can give you more money. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people wait till it's too late. When you wait till it's too late, that's it. You know, you want to be an older person, not able to get around and do as much. That's when you struggle more, when you can't provide for yourself at that time and still trying to make ends meet. It's going to be a point where you have to go and stay with a family member just to survive. And then that goes back into the respect part of, a lot of times if you're dealing with family members and friends and you're technically not the right person or acting a certain way with them, like I said, they're going to remember that. When you're old and to age of retirement and you need someone to come take care of you, they might say no. Even if you're the only nephew, niece, or grandchild, and if they say no, what's going to happen? You know. So, like I say, just having an understanding of when you get old, what's going to happen. Not even just the point of getting old. What if you have a medical issue or something that breaks you down over time? Who's going to be there for you? How are you going to properly structure things? Do you have a will? Do you have something to where if anything ever happens to you, somebody would know how to deal with your belongings and handle situations for you? Just ask. But with that being said, shout out to everybody in the building. Like I said, go ahead and hit that like on the way out. Um, watch out for yourself, because if you're not doing the best for you, 10 times out of 10, nobody ain't. You know, everybody's more self. Shout out to Gold Professor and the Builders Table with the 9 laws of self-govern. Law number 3, sometimes you have to apply selfish. Think about yourself. But with that being said, shout out to everybody. You know what I say when I get off the hill? We here, and we gone.